So get set as I take you on an epic journey from Darbuk, which the traders who would go from Ladakh to Xinjiang used to call the gateway to hell. And we started in the Darbuk village, went all the way up to Daulat Beg Oldie, which is the furthest point of India, which is one of the key active theatres where the 1962 war was fought. It's also where, even at this time, there is a lot of stress between the Indian and the Chinese armies. And so far, nobody has been on this road. India today worked very closely with the Ministry of Defence. We secured exclusive access, and our executive editor, Gaurav Sawant, went on this once-in-a-lifetime journey on the road that is said to be one of the key factors causing the current tension between India and China. So sit back and watch this exclusive journey, which starts in the village of Darbuk, goes all the way up to Daulat Beg Oldie. This is a big India Today exclusive.
This heavy excavator has a long-arm drill to make holes in hard rock. The Border Roads Organization engineers then use gelatin sticks to blast the rock and carve a road to quickly be able to move and maintain troops at India's most forward post along the India-China line of actual control at Daulat Beg Oldie in northern Ladakh. The Border Roads Organization is currently working against time to finish the road so that troops, heavy tanks and artillery guns can be deployed as and where required.
Brigadier Singh, why is this road a game changer?
The road Durbuk-Shok Daulat Beg Oldie is one of the most strategic roads of the Indian Army. It connects Daulat Beg Oldie, which is the last post of the Indian Army, and it's at the base of the Karakoram Pass. This 255-kilometer strategic roads runs parallel to the LAC, and it increases India's defense potential manifold. Earlier, it used to take around 7 days to reach Daulat Beg Oldie. Now with construction of this road, we are able to reach Daulat Beg Oldie in 1 day from Leh also.
The brigade looking after the DBO sector was by and large either air-maintained or military trucks and convoys waded through the Shok River to replenish men and material. The China Study Group took a conscious decision to build 61 India-China strategic road and the 255-kilometer road from Durbuk along the Shok River to Daulat Beg Oldie was classified as one of the most crucial strategic roads. Post-2017 work was undertaken on a war footing to complete this road.
The DSDBO road, this 255-kilometer long road, runs parallel to the LAC. So any road which goes parallel to the LAC has its own importance, and it is touching the Karakoram Pass, very close to the Karakoram Pass, our airstrip of the DBO. And we had planned construction of this 6 to 8 months back. We will be able to complete our targets before the winter set in. And in spite of the standoff and all, it is not affected or degraded our resolve to achieve our targets. Whatever has been the target given to us by the formations or by the Ministry of Defence, we were able to achieve it.
In this area, there is no civilian labour available for road construction. The Ministry of Railways ran a special train even in COVID times to bring in labour from Dumka in Jharkhand. The Dumka labourers work with the army at altitudes up to 18,000 feet and see themselves as soldiers and nation builders.
आप कहाँ से आए हैं?
अनाथ दत्ता झारखंड से आए हैं सर।
झारखंड से आए हैं?
दुमका डिस्ट्रिक्ट।
दुमका से आए हैं?
जी सर।
आप?
हम झारखंड से आए हैं। मेरा नाम है हवल धीवर।
हवल
धीवर।
और आप भी दुमका से आए हैं?
दुमका से आए।
कितने लोग हैं यहाँ दुमका से?
51 है सर।
51 लोग हैं?
जी सर।
तो हम लोग 16,000 फीट की ऊंचाई पर है। यहाँ ठंड है, ठंड नहीं लग रही?
ठंड थोड़ा बहुत लग रही है।
हाँ। तो कैसे काम करते हैं यहाँ पर?
ये कपड़ा लगा के पहनते, थोड़ा जैकेट उकेट लगा के।
कब से आ रहे हैं?
हम लोग हो गया 10-12 साल से।
10-12 साल से आ रहे हैं?
जी सर, जी सर।
झारखंड से, दुमका से?
जी सर।
हर साल?
हर साल।
कितने दिन के लिए?
ये 4-5 महीना के लिए।
Carving a track and then a blacktop road is virtually mission impossible. But BRO engineers are bringing in the latest technology and heavy mountain cutting equipment even from Europe to be able to provide our soldiers an all-weather road. Take for example this excavator called the Spider. it's able to work and cut through hard mountain at virtually impossible angles. This is the first time that the army has brought in such a machine. The road to Daulat Beg Oldie is tough, but for the Army and Border Roads Organisation, the bigger challenge after the completion of the road will to keep it open through the winters despite heavy snowfall.
The DSDBO road is a very crucial strategic road along the line of actual control that ensures men and material can quickly be deployed as and when needed in whichever part of the area. Our journey that began at 14,500 feet at Durbuk now ends at this point at Daulat Beg Oldie after 255 kilometers. But for the Border Roads Organization, the Army and the government, infrastructure development projects will continue in Ladakh to ensure better protection of our borders and development of the region. With cameraman Kripal Singh at Daulat Beg Oldie, Eastern Ladakh, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.
Wow, just imagine the effort it took our team to put that ground report together. I've been at heights of 18,000 plus. It's difficult to breathe, it's difficult to walk. To be able to get there, put this together requires real determination, courage and effort. The other place that's been spoken of a lot is Daulat Beg Oldie. And again, nobody really knows what DBO looks like. So it's a key strategic asset for India. It's the one part of the Aksai Chin which India still holds on to. And there, the strategic asset is the advanced landing ground. The first flight landed around 1962. We used it to have men material sent during the India-China war. And then in 2013, a C-130J Hercules scripted history by landing at this makeshift airfield. It is this landing ground that plays a key role in deploying men and material at these inhospitable heights in Ladakh. Here is part 2 of this Newstrack special, which now focuses on the Daulat Beg Oldie sector. Sit back, watch this.
Daulat Beg Oldie Advanced Landing Ground, the world's highest ALG at 16,696 feet. This is one of India's most strategic forward airfields near Aksai Chin in eastern Ladakh.
We are currently at an altitude of 16,696 feet at Daulat Beg Oldie. This is the world's highest advanced landing ground. In 1962, aircraft landed here at DBO. Then again in 2008, an AN-32 aircraft, and in 2013, a C-130J Hercules. There is a helipad that is still here. There is an advanced landing ground all along this area. Now, the Border Roads Organization has fulfilled the task of building a road, constructing a road from Durbuk to Daulat Beg Oldie.
This advanced landing ground and the helipad next to it is one of India's most sensitive and strategic landing grounds at the base of the mighty Karakoram Ranges. On the 23rd of July 1962, the first flight of an Indian Air Force Packet Fairchild landed at DBO. The Indian Army and Indo-Tibetan Border Police have held this strategically extremely significant piece of land, which was also a resting ground for caravans along the ancient Silk Route. More than half a century after the 1962 war, Air Marshal P.K. Barbara, then Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Western Air Command, landed here in an AN-32 medium-lift transport aircraft.
After 62 operations, we realized that we require an advanced landing ground in Aksai Chin area, closer to the border, to be able to maintain logistics support. It was a tremendous joint operation between Army and Air Force to be able to bring the advanced landing ground, what we call it, into some form of operation.
This landing was considered extremely significant. And then again, on 20th August 2013, an Indian Air Force C-130J Super Hercules aircraft landed at this advanced landing ground. This was seen as a strategic move by the Indian Air Force to strengthen its defenses and be able to quickly deploy men and material at these inhospitable altitudes where winter temperatures fall below minus 50 degrees at times.
Government was informed only after I had landed and come back from there, and through proper channels. So government asked, why did you do it? He said, it's my responsibility, Air Force responsibility to maintain troops, logistic support, and also any kind of emergency troops deployment or weapons deployment, whatever it might be. And it falls within our jurisdiction, it falls within Indian territory, so we did it.
The DBO airfield east of Siachen is one of India's most strategic assets, barely 10 kilometers west of the India-China line of actual control, not far from the Chipchap River, close to the Depsang Plains. The flat top also has a helipad for medium-lift helicopters and has been used not only for casualty evacuation but also for heli-lifting men and material. It remains to be seen if the government will upgrade this sensitive advanced landing ground at almost 17,000 feet. With Gaurav Sawant in Daulat Beg Oldie, Ladakh, Bureau Report, India Today.
It's the highest airstrip in the world, and for one of those giant transport planes of the Indian Air Force land there is just magical. You've got all the dust flying up in the air, and it's quite heroic to be able to land there given the altitude and just the kind of airstrip. It is very small, very difficult to land. Heroic missions were carried out in the 1962 war as well when it came to landing, whether it was the Chushul airfield or the DBO. What I want to do now is show you the kind of difficulties there are in building a road between 14 to 18,000 feet. Now, these are altitudes where globally mountaineers tend to trek up to. So it's a big deal if you can go up to 14, 18,000 feet because that trek itself is a monumental effort. Now, imagine at those altitudes, sleeping out in the open, in tents or prefabricated huts as you move along the road. To build the road is an exceptional service being performed by the Border Roads Organization. Gaurav Sawant spent some time with these heroes of India who, under extremely adverse circumstances, are performing a national strategic mission. So I want to spend some time giving you a sense of why the work that the BRO is performing is so incredibly important and how heroic because of the circumstances in which those roads are being built. So this is part 3 of this Big India Today exclusive.
Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast that comes to you from an altitude of 14,100 feet. We are at Durbuk. This is the start point of the crucial Durbuk-Shyok Daulat Beg Oldie road. Now, DBO is about 255 kilometers from where we are at this point of time. And this road all across for the next 255 kilometers is a crucial artery for the Indian Armed Forces deployed here. Over the course of the next half hour, we will show you how the mountain tamers have literally split mountains to carve a road for our braves to reach the Karakoram Pass, the last post of the Indian Army in Ladakh. Daulat Beg Oldie is 255 kilometers from here, and we are in the sector of the Karakoram warriors.
Durbuk is at Tri-Junction. One road peels off to Tongse and towards Pangong So, the site of the current India-China standoff. The other is the most crucial artery connecting India's last outpost ahead of the strategically crucial Daulat Beg Oldie advanced landing ground. India today became the first channel in the world to travel on the strategically significant India-China border road, the 255-kilometer long DSDBO road, much in headlines during the ongoing India-China standoff.
We are on the DSDBO road, and this stretch is so good that if you look at the speedometer, we are doing 100 kilometers per hour, and this truly makes the DSDBO road a game changer.
From 14,000 plus, the road snakes along the Ladakh ranges and crosses multiple rivulets, where multiple 70-ton load-carrying bridges are being constructed to enable all-weather movement of heavy armor and artillery.
We are currently working at 40-meter span bridge, which is a 70R load classification, and it has 2 lanes. And after its construction, any type of vehicle can cross it, and it will be completed as soon as possible. As you can see, there is a casting of deck slab is ongoing.
One of the toughest sections on the road is at 18,000 feet, where neither man nor machine are able to perform to the optimum in extremely rarefied atmosphere.
Our machines are working at 50% efficiency. Our boys are working at 50% efficiency because we get 50% oxygen here. And all our laborers come from Jharkhand. The only motivation for them is they are the world's highest RCC, doing the toughest job that is possible. And then after October, we try to send them off till about March, and we try to give them as much of positives as possible in this sector.
This is the Karakoram Dwar at an altitude of 12,200 feet. This is the world's highest suspension bridge on the Shok River. This bridge is the lifeline of our soldiers. Temperature here dips to 30 degrees below zero.
This is the world's highest suspension bridge. It is of the span 320 feet. Now, this bridge can take a load of 24 tons. Now, this permanent bridge is under construction. So this bridge, we are completed 30 meter of it, and 90 meter span we will be completing in this working season. So by the end of next year, there will be a permanent 120 meter, that is around 400 feet, permanent bridge over here, which can take a load class of 70 tons.
India today became the first channel not only to travel along the 255-kilometer highway, but also reach the world's highest advanced landing ground at Daulat Beg Oldie. Hectic construction and infrastructure development activity is on even here. At close to 17,000 feet, in rarefied high-altitude open desert, with wind chill factor intensifying due to icy winds, even standing for a couple of minutes becomes extremely difficult, but our soldiers guard these extremely sensitive borders against all odds.
On the Durbuk Shok Daulat Beg Oldie road, this village Shok is the last village where people stay. Beyond this, there is no habitation because of the extreme high altitude and difficult terrain. Locals here help the Border Roads Organization in road construction. So we are now on the DSDBO road. Beyond this, we'll only see Border Roads Organization and the army deployed in this entire area. Now, labor force till 255 kilometers is provided by Dumka, Jharkhand laborers who are engaged very extensively in road construction.
You know, this is what makes the India Today group so different from all other networks. To make that effort, bring it all together in this magical fashion, and to actually give all of you, our viewers, and I'm as zapped looking at those pictures as I'm certain that you are, the intensity of that effort. And hats off to those laborers from Dumka in Jharkhand to make the effort to bring together this national mission and construct roads at 18,000 feet. And as I said it again, these are altitudes at which most normal people don't even try and trek. Mountaineers think about how they'll hit 18,000 feet when it comes to the altitude. To be building roads there, it requires superhuman capability. So great job there. We're so thankful for what they're doing. And that was Gaurav Sawant's exclusive story. I want to shift our attention now to what's happening in New Delhi, because for the first time, the Ministry of Defense in the capital acknowledged that Chinese soldiers transgressed, which means came into, broke rules in eastern Ladakh in May. This was put up by the Ministry of Defense on its official website, but as it started generating political backlash, this was suddenly taken down, leading to all kinds of speculation. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi was quick to step in and hit out at the centre, asking why the Prime Minister was hiding information. Take a look.
93 days since the standoff began, after the government continuously dismissed allegations of incursions by China in Ladakh.
लेकिन मैं इतना यकीन दिलाना चाहता हूं कि भारत की 1 इंच जमीन को भी दुनिया की कोई ताकत छू नहीं सकती है, उस पर कब्जा नहीं कर सकती।
The Ministry of Defense under Rajnath Singh has gone on record admitting the truth. The truth that India has set the news agenda, reporting from day one. The Defense Ministry uploaded a note on its website talking about the prolonged standoff and describing the Chinese aggression as transgressions for the very first time. That's right, the very first time that the government has practically admitted that this isn't just aggression but actual transgression. The note mentions the transgressions in detail and even notes the locations, concluding that the standoff will take a while to dial down. Making the admission more glaring, the note was yanked down from the MOD website just minutes after it came to light in the media. But by then, it was too late. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi, who has led a serial video attack on the China issue, latched on to media reports, asking in a tweet, why is the PM lying?
जो हमारे डिफेंस मिनिस्ट्री ने आज भी जो विड्रॉ करा है लिखने के बाद में, उसके अंदर भी उन्होंने ये कहा है कि द प्रेजेंट स्टैंड ऑफ इज लाइकली टू बी प्रोलॉन्ग। तो कितना प्रोलॉन्ग होगा, क्या इसका रास्ता है, क्या इसके लिए आगे की तैयारी है?
Chinese intrusions are often loosely referred to as transgressions, a word that's defined in the dictionary as the act or process of breaking a law or moral rule. It's also defined as infringement or violation of law, command or duty. Coming to the Ministry of Defense note, it says Chinese aggression has been increasing along the LAC and more particularly in the Galwan Valley since the 5th of May. Chinese transgressed in areas of the Kungrang Nala, Gogra and Pangong So on May 17th and 18th. And that the situation in eastern Ladakh continues to be sensitive and requires close monitoring and prompt action. Amidst all the friction, the disengagement seems to be fully stalled, as first reported last week by India Today. After refusing to even acknowledge Pangong So as a friction point, China's ultimatum that any pullback must be matched by an Indian pullback on its own soil has made the situation even worse than before, with India fully standing its ground.
If due to any reason China is unable to pull back, whether it is to assuage the pain of the Galwan incident to the PLA, or is it to show some face to its own citizens, they are more than welcome to stick to their guns, and we'll stick to our guns for the time being. And when it becomes untenable for them, we should be ready to occupy the places which we seek.
In the initial phase of disengagement at Pangong Lake, the Chinese moved back from Finger 4 to Finger 5, but continued with its deployment on the ridgeline. India too pulled back from Finger 4, where troops from both sides had been in an eyeball-to-eyeball situation. Between Finger 5 and Finger 8, China strengthened its positions, brought in more boats and set up huts for the winter. In the 5th round of Corps Commander level talks last Sunday, the situation in Pangong Lake, the biggest flashpoint in the 3-month-old standoff, was the main focus. Even after that 5th round of talks, the disengagement between both sides is woefully incomplete.
Sources say there is no question of India diluting its stand by moving back in the Pangong Lake, as this will amount to alteration of status quo, something that India does not want. In fact, it's very clear now that China is being rigid and has put these conditions to ensure that the standoff continues. In wake of this, there have been several meetings in the security establishment to decide what the future strategy will be. Abhishek Bhalla in New Delhi for India Today.
It's clear as daylight that talks between India and China have now hit a military deadlock. So what happens from here on? For perspective, we're joined on this broadcast by Nitin Gokhale, Editor-in-Chief of Strat News. With us also at this time is Brahma Chalani, one of India's foremost China experts. I'll start by asking Nitin what his sense of the thinking within the Indian establishment is, because China asked us to pull back further from Pangong if we wanted the PLA to go back. India now officially communicating to the PLA that that's not going to happen. Given the fact that that's the Chinese expectation and that we've rejected it, where do you see the situation between India and China along the line of actual control go from here? Nitin.
Well, Rahul, I think the fact is that right from day one, one knew about the main aim or objective that the Chinese had. As I had said right at the beginning, that while they came in at several or tried to come in at several points, friction points, PP14, PP17, Gogra, Hot Springs, their main objective was the finger area, which is not not something new in terms of a dispute. For the past several years, at least half a dozen years, the Chinese have been pushing forward, and as you know, this road was built between finger 8 and finger 5 way back in 1999. So there has been a lot of friction in that area particularly. So the sticking point was always going to be the finger 5, finger 8 area. And as we now know that while they have disengaged and moved back in other friction points, they are not willing to move back from finger 5. So I think India is in for a long haul and prepared for a long haul, as I can see. But as far as the timelines are concerned, I think it's in the Chinese hand. The ball is in the Chinese court. If they go back, because India has made it clear, the red line is that, or the requirement is that they must go back to Sirijap or at least to finger 8, which has been the case for almost 20 years now, that they had a permanent post in finger 8. India had a permanent post in finger 3 and would patrol up to finger 5 and go also to touch finger 8. So I think we are in for a stalemate at the Pangong, north bank of Pangong.
So Brahma Chalani, what should we do? Because very clearly the Chinese and now the Ministry of Defense has accepted it that they transgressed, even though that note was taken down. So what did you make of that affair? And secondly, the reality at this moment is the Chinese are sitting on land which India used to patrol, even if we didn't physically control. Do we just let it be? How do you see the situation play out from here on? Brahma Chalani.
First, the Defense Ministry has not recanted the contents of its document. It has only removed the document from the website. And the document makes an important point that China has engaged in unilateral aggression. That's the exact term the document uses. And talks about China's transgressions, how China has transgressed borders at multiple points. Now let's face it, the only way China will vacate the areas it has occupied is if India imposes costs that make the territorial gains of its aggression unbeneficial to hold. Now, is India willing to impose substantive costs on China? That is the issue. China has achieved its territorial objectives below the threshold of armed conflict. That is without firing a single shot. Since China has achieved a change in the status quo without firing a shot, the challenge for India is to restore status quo ante below the threshold of armed conflict.
How do you propose we do that, Brahma?
Well, first, India has to call a spade a spade. If India is not willing to call a spade, it will further embolden an expansionist China. China's actions taken through stealth and deception collectively constitute an act of war. India needs to launch a concerted diplomatic offensive internationally to spotlight China's aggression and the dangers its expansionism poses for all countries.
Okay, so respond to that, Nitin Gokhale, that there must at least be an international diplomatic offensive against China, building global momentum against them. Brahma Chalani makes the case that India so far isn't calling a spade a spade. If the BJP had been in opposition and the Congress had been in government by now, the BJP would have been out in numbers. He's calling this a mini invasion of India, which you can say is a bit of an exaggeration, but the fact is that they've entered territory which India patrolled, and now that territory is not in our control. He's saying launch at the least a diplomatic international offensive.
Well, there's no quarrel with that. A diplomatic offensive is certainly required. China must be shown for what it is, an aggressive bully. And remember, this is not only against India, it is doing the same thing against Japan, it's doing the same action against Vietnam and Philippines in South China Sea.
But they haven't physically occupied any land. There's a difference. They may be making belligerent noises.
South China Sea is a disputed. So Rahul, the South China Sea islands, the reefs, the rocky outcrop is occupied by China. I mean, they're trying to control that area. That is kind of an occupation. And here, except that finger area, and I want to give you some figures. It's, we are trying to make this a big thing about finger. If you look at some of the figures from incidents at the line of actual control from 2015 to 2019, in the western sector, there were 342 transgressions in 2015. They increased to 497 in 2019.
But they went back. The difference between those transgressions and the current situation.
This has not happened overnight, Rahul.
But they went back.
This has not happened overnight. This is happening every year.
Okay.
So this time the difference is it has happened at multiple points. It has happened, and as I said, they have come and occupied finger for the first time, finger 5 and finger 8. But this is not something that suddenly overnight this has cropped up. This has been a trend for the past 15 years that they have been coming to finger 5 and finger 8.
Brahma, respond to that.
They have come and occupied it there.
Nitin Gokhale is correct. Transgressions have happened in the dozens in the past as well. The difference is
not dozens, hundreds.
Hundreds. The difference is this time they are physically occupying that land. Usually they'd come in and go back. That's not happened this time. Secondly, in the larger national scheme of things, whether the Chinese are sitting on finger 8 or finger 5 or finger 6 or finger 7, how much of a difference does it make beyond a point? Not tactical land occupation, but a larger strategic national perspective, because unlike, say, Galwan, where they can dominate the DSDBO road and you don't want them overlooking a strategic road asset, in Pangong, many military experts have said there is no military asset of that nature. From finger 8, India can dominate the G219, which is the Xinjiang-Tibet highway. That's a problem for China, but there is no major strategic asset worth its name on the Indian side. And therefore, while you keep building your capacities, you don't necessarily get militarily aggressive. Respond to that, Brahma.
You began this program by focusing on the DBO airfield, the highway, the new highway to the DBO airfield.
Correct.
But we are not talking about the most significant Chinese encroachment. They've encroached 18 kilometers inside Indian territory, and they're ensconced on the Depsang-Y junction. Depsang-Y junction is just 30 kilometers from the DBO airfield and barely 6 kilometers from the new highway to the DBO airfield. That area is highly strategic. It's very important for India. And let's face it, in the period since India began negotiations with China, first at the Major General level in May, and then at the Lieutenant General level from early June, China has asserted new territorial claims in Galwan Valley, in Pangong Lake, and at Gogra. It has beefed up its forces inside Indian territory, encroached 18 kilometers inside Indian territory in Depsang. In other words, the negotiations have come handy to China to buy time to cement the new status quo it has created at multiple points in Ladakh. Simply put, China has effectively redrawn their LAC. Yet, India still provides minimal information on the ground situation in the hotspots, thus forcing us to rely on commercially available satellite imagery for analysis. To give you just one example, when the buffer zone was created in the Galwan Valley, we were told that this is a temporary arrangement for 30 days. This buffer zone has been created largely on the Indian side of the LAC.
Okay.
Now that 30-day period is over. We do not know what is the status of the buffer zone, because the buffer zone precludes India from patrolling up to patrol point 14. India has moved further back from its own territory.
But we did hear from General
beyond
Narasimhan that it's not as if we are giving up patrolling rights in perpetuity. It's been given up at this moment to ensure that tensions in that area.
That's what I'm asking.
Where there
was violence. It's a temporary arrangement.
Correct.
It's a temporary arrangement.
I'm out of time. Please wrap up. Yes, sir.
It's a temporary arrangement, and yet if it prolongs, the Chinese might start to enforce this buffer zone, and that's a concern that the Home Ministry officials briefing the media have expressed. So we still do not know what is the status of the buffer zone because the 30-day temporary period is over.
Okay, so there are concerns.
There needs to be more transparency. There needs to be better strategic communication. The public should know the status. We are not asking for secrets, but the government should be taking the nation into confidence, because what we are faced with is Kargil 2. During Kargil 1, the nation was taken into confidence.
Okay. So I'm out of time on this broadcast. You've heard two different points of view. And remember, with the bully, if he pokes you and you let it be, he typically tends to get more aggressive and poke you and hit you even harder. So you can't just let a bully ride you roughshod. You have to find out how to push back. And that is a key national challenge. Brahmacharani, Nitin Gokhale for joining me. Thank you very much. When I come back, more than 135 people dead and over 4,000 injured, ravaged by two massive ammonium nitrate explosions. Beirut is picking up the pieces slowly. The shock over the blast has now turned into anger as the Lebanese capital assesses the damage inflicted by the massive blasts. Aanchal Vora was an Indian journalist who witnessed this explosion firsthand. She files this exclusive report from Beirut for India Today.
Apocalyptic. A giant red cloud. A massive explosion. And half of Beirut sits in ruins. An explosion so strong, it registered a 3.3 magnitude earthquake and felt hundreds of kilometers away in Cyprus. Journalist Aanchal Vora lived over just a mile from the harbour, the hardest hit Christian-dominated West Beirut neighbourhood. She was watching Netflix when a deafening boom swung across. A blast of wind tossed her to the other side.
This was my house. This was my house. Oh. Have a look at that street. Have a look at that street. Everything in the house is gone. We've lost everything. And people, everyone's lost everything, it seems. We don't know how many casualties there are yet. I haven't managed to find my work permit. We've somehow managed to find our passports. Everyone needs to leave. Oh my God, Lebanon was going through so much already. People barely have enough money to buy food.
Hell shattered the calm. At least 100 people dead and 400 injured in its wake. The source of the explosion has been traced to a warehouse storing ammonium nitrate, a highly explosive material used as a farm fertilizer. The cause of the ignition is not yet known. A Mourning Lebanon is providing support for the victims.
We're trying to help. We're getting the water, anything that can happen. There are some people which are injured because the buildings are somehow cracked and the stones are falling down, so people are getting injured because they're staying underneath the buildings.
The explosion came at a difficult time. Lebanon is hit by its worst economic meltdown since the 1975-1990 civil war. COVID cases are also on the rise. Public unrest growing over poverty and hunger. The devastating blast has pushed Lebanon to the brink. Meanwhile, the Indian ambassador Dr. Suhail Ejaz Khan has met Indian expats and assessed the situation.
This is our street, Shara Jumaze. in West Beirut. That was our cafe, Cortado. It's all gone. It's all gone. That's our building there. Our house on third floor. Everything gone now. A lot of volunteers, Lebanese men and women, boys and girls now on the streets. They're clearing up crushed glass, they're clearing up the debris on their own. Red Cross's office is right here. Again, young people volunteering, trying to provide first aid. We've still been told that a lot of people are still buried under the debris in houses here.
A frantic search for survivors through mangled steel, shattered glass and mounds of blood-stained debris. With Achal Vora in Beirut, Bureau Report, India Today.
Just a terrible situation for the citizens of Beirut to be in, and there's no one to help them pick up. They literally have to pick up their own lives. There's no civic authority to be able to do that for them. This is where I wrap up the Newstrack tonight. I look forward to seeing you at 8 p.m. tomorrow when we bring you the results of the India Today Mood of the Nation opinion poll, our biannual, hugely tracked opinion poll where we'll show you what will happen if elections happen. Now, what do people think of COVID, China, the economy, all of that and more tomorrow 8 p.m. on Newstrack. Stay with us.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kanwal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.